It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
Evidently, over the weekend, people went and found where Samuel Alito lives and, decided that they wanted to protest out in front of his house and let him know what they thought of his leaked memo. Evidently, this gave him the jitters, and it's been reported that they are in an undisclosed location. Got to wonder if it's the bunker Trump used or that they rushed him away into. Now, equally interesting to me, and this is one of those things I just find quite amusing. Immediately, our system in the Senate seemed to be jumping into action. We can't solve health care. We can't solve education crisis. We can't build infrastructure. We can't get, things. We can't seem to do anything in the Senate. But John Cornyn, Republican from Texas, Chris Coons, Democrat from Delaware, they have already introduced a bipartisan piece of legislation called the Supreme Court Police Parity Act, because we're going to protect the Supreme Court justices. Here's an idea. How about don't overturn 50 years of decided law and take rights away from people? Maybe just a thought. Here to share some thoughts on the Roe versus Wade interesting story, and maybe where is Alito? We'll play Where's Waldo now. I've asked Dr. Allison Gill to come talk with us. One of my favorite podcasters. She is the folks who bring us the Mueller, She Wrote podcast, also the fabulous Daily Beans podcast. Both you can find over at mswmedia.com and all of the other great offerings there. Allison, thanks for taking time for us.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure, Rick. Thank you for having me.
So the Alito underground, thoughts?
Somebody tweeted, everyone pray for Alito and his family. And I said, I will not. Not that I wish harm upon anyone. I do not. But after you put out that type of decision, we were expecting this, right? We've been expecting,
of course,
this. What I was not expecting was the reasoning behind overturning Roe to be as primitive and horrible as it was. Women didn't have rights when the Constitution was written, so they shouldn't have rights now.
Seriously? Hold on. Stop right there. You seriously didn't think they would say that? The people who brought us the original intent? These are the people who want to go back to 3/5 of a person. These are the people who outwardly say they are original intentists. They want to undo everything that has been done because that wasn't the original intent. I guess I wasn't surprised.
They never come right out and say that we don't want. It's just white Christian men should have rights. They always couch it in some sort of other buffery language, and I thought that that's what we were going to see. However, whether it's Trump's bunker or first of all, I kind of don't understand why people are having a problem with folks protesting on a public street, peacefully assembling and redressing their grievances to the government, which are two of the 5 freedoms in the First Amendment, one of which Amy Coney Barrett forgot when she was asked by Ben Sass for the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment. She forgot the redress and protest freedom there. To peaceably assemble on a public street. Now, maybe we could ask Gretchen Whitmer or Dana Nessel how they feel about that type of thing. And I'm not going to weigh in on whether or not I think it's appropriate because I'm still reeling from the decision itself, honestly.
Right. So tell me, look, I've been going off about this because I see this as taking a future away from my daughters. Now my daughters are hopefully years away from having children or thinking about families or any of that. But as someone who's your age who looks at this, what does this mean to you?
Well, sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes we don't consent to sex. And when I was in the military, that, as you know, is what happened to me. And had I been in a red state with Roe overturned, I wouldn't have been able to travel to a state that allowed abortion to seek abortion access. I would have been forced to carry my rapist's baby to term while also dealing with the PTSD that comes along with military sexual trauma. That terrifies me and re-traumatizes me. But I am in this particular fight at this particular time. I have reproductive privilege because I cannot get pregnant. So my thoughts are with every other woman in the United States right now, especially in the states that will have trigger laws that not only ban abortion, but in some cases make it homicide or a murder, or they're going to try to, force you to take a pregnancy test to travel or to leave the state. It's the concern here is not just this particular removal of our right to bodily autonomy. That's enough in itself. That's enough in and of itself. But all the other rights that didn't exist prior to the last 100 years also being at risk based on this decision.
Now, you telling your story, I'm thinking about Gene Schmidt, the Republican legislator from Ohio, who said that your situation would have been an opportunity.
I know.
So I'm curious, when you hear that, did you think of that as an opportunity, and how do you? I don't know how to ask that question, but how do you think that would have affected you if you would have been forced to go through full term with that?
I wouldn't be alive today. I barely made it through the PTSD, coping with the PTSD from the assault. So if I had been forced to give birth, and not just forced to give birth, but forced to give birth to my rapist's baby, I wouldn't be here today.
And this is the problem that we have with people who are making these decisions, who don't understand or don't know. And look, I don't know what it's like. And as I've said before, I'm well past my childbearing years. In fact, I've never had any. But this is the one thing I definitely know is government shouldn't be the one making these policies. A bunch of old white guys making these policies should not be the way forward, because we don't understand what it's like to be in your shoes. And it's horrible hearing what you went through. It's horrible. And I can't imagine my own daughters being in a position like that.
Right, because a lot of the argument here is, well, it takes two. You did the sex, you do the time, right? And first of all, for me personally, that's not what happened. But that shouldn't be the only carve out. Your decision, your body. I mean, these arguments are 40 or 50 years old. Like, why do we have to have them again? Yeah. It's awful to even think about.
But the bigger part of this, Allison, is, and as an old white guy, I look at this as, I don't want someone to have control over my daughter's future. I want her to have the right of self-determination. And this is more than just about the abortion issue. This is about control. This is about someone controlling her destiny or their destiny in ways that they have no power over. And that's a struggle for me, while simultaneously the people who are pushing this stuff literally down society's throat, are doing nothing to want people to bring children into this world. We have no maternity leave. We have no health care. We have education that's not that great. And for women in poverty, forget about it. We do nothing to help them. And look, I'm somebody who grew up in poverty. I know what it's like to live in poverty with a single mother. I know how hard it is. Don't want that for people, especially if they don't want that.
Yeah, no, and that's the hardest part is the helplessness aspect of it, which is something that I think a lot of women are familiar with kind of already, but this just takes it to a whole other level, and I'm the leak is not the story, but I'm very interested to know who put this out and why.